Hi there, it's very early Thursday morning, and I'm very excited to see you tonight. Thursday night, 8 p.m., I'll be hosting a hangout for all paid subscribers. It's been over 2 weeks, so I hope to see you tonight. Lots to discuss. Joining me on the conversation today, I've got one of our favorites, Maura Quint, who is talking about her hilarious, insightful, and deeply offensive recap of the State of the Union that she posted at McSweenwey's, which is very good. You got to check that out. And for the first time ever, I'm going to talk to a guy named Tony Box, who's a former FBI agent, federal prosecutor, former Army. He's now running for Attorney General in Texas. The primary election is next week. Tony and I have mostly focused on the FBI, what it was like, the culture there then and now, Kash Patel's antics, and his concerns, as well as why he's running for Attorney General in Texas. Tony Box for the first time joining me, then Maura Quint. I begin with Tony at 24 minutes, and then my conversation with Maura starts at 58 minutes. But I hope you'll stay here because I've got your headlines and the best of yesterday's clips, best moments in television, radio, podcasting, YouTube, and all of the rest that I could find. Many of you send these to me. If you haven't, send me whatever you're seeing. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com. It's super helpful. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. And thank you very much for being here. I hope to see you in Las Vegas, April 9th through 12th for Podjam. Get your tickets now. There's a link at the top of every day's show notes between now and then. Very much looking forward to that. And now let's hit those headlines.
It's Pete's Headlines and Clip Show. Getting on the shit show.
Indeed. A huge shit show yesterday. Lots to discuss. Let's start with the fact that I woke up to news that the Make-A-Wish director of the FBI, Kash Patel, that's what his own agents actually nicknamed him, fired at least 10 staffers who worked on the Mar-a-Lago documents case. At least 10 FBI employees who worked on a former special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's retention of classified records after he left the White House in 2021 were fired. They were fired on Wednesday. Firings came after Reuters reported the FBI had subpoenaed records of phone calls made by FBI Director Kash Patel and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles when they were both private citizens as part of Jack Smith's probe into Trump. So that is pretty terrible news and worth paying attention to. Terrible for those agents who are just doing their job. And what else can we say about it? Quite a hearing yesterday for our Commander-in-Chief's nominee for Surgeon General. Her name is Dr. Casey Means. You may have read about her, heard about her before. But yesterday she would not commit to encourage parents to vaccinate their children. While also fending off questions before Congress about her business interest and stated past use of psychedelics. Now, that part I like, but I'll try to get to some clips from Dr. Casey Means' confirmation hearings yesterday. Big story from Los Angeles. Apparently, the FBI served search warrants yesterday at the L.A. Unified School District's headquarters and home of its superintendent, a nationally recognized school administrator. The nature of the federal investigation involving the nation's second largest school district and Superintendent Alberto Carvalho's home, not immediately clear, but a case worth watching for sure. Really disconcerting there. I don't know what is happening. The administration regime's immigration enforcement tactics continue to struggle in the courts, and that's good news. Quote, the Trump administration's latest policy of deporting immigrants to third countries to which they have no ties is unlawful and must be set aside. A federal judge ruled this yesterday in a case that has already reached the nation's highest court. That's good news. And it's the end of the road for old Larry Summers, that creep. Fallout from the Epstein files across elite circles of academia had deepened yesterday when Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary and the ex-president of Harvard University, said he will resign from his teaching appointments at the end of the academic year. Don't let the door hit your fat ass on the way out, Larry Summers, you creep. I've never liked that guy, including when I interviewed him at the Aspen Ideas Fest, and he said, on a condition to interview him, I also had to interview his wife, who I found out later he was asking Epstein how he could cheat on. Okay, well, the Department of Justice lack of credibility continues to carry consequences. A federal magistrate judge ruled on Tuesday that the court and not the Justice Department would search devices that the government seized from a Washington Post reporter's home last month. This is resolving an impasse over how to handle the materials. The judge is William B. Porter of the Eastern District of Virginia. He came down against unsupervised wholesale search expedition conducted by the government. So another court deciding against the government, and that is very good as well. The Trump administration now weighing a possible executive order or other action that would require banks to collect citizenship information from customers. A new front in the administration's crackdown on immigrants living in the U.S. illegally. This is a very important story. We should keep an eye on. Wall Street Journal reporting this yesterday. The potential executive order would enlist banks in the White House's illegal immigration crackdown. Well, can't imagine them cooperating. And the House of Representatives yesterday nearly rejected an aviation safety bill that was spurred by the deadly midair collision. I think I reported this yesterday's podcast, the one near Washington, D.C. back in January. And this is one day after the Pentagon abruptly withdrew its support from the bipartisan bill. It's called the Rotor Act, by the way, in case you're following that story. I think this is day 3 of top stories, top headlines covering the missing Epstein files about a woman who made a claim against Trump. So it'll be really interesting to see how that continues to get investigated and reported out and talked about. I think it should remain as a top story until we get to any kind of conclusion, much less continue to make progress on it. What else do I have here for you? Cuba says it killed 4 people aboard a Florida-registered speedboat that opened fire on soldiers, Cuban soldiers. So that was a big story yesterday. A nearly blind refugee was found dead in New York days after immigration agents dropped him off alone, according to officials. That's a story that many outlets are reporting on. And during the State of the Union, guess what? Democrats won 3 big elections. That's right. As he droned on in his boring State of the Union, Democrats celebrated 3 wins in special elections across the country. 2 in Pennsylvania. 2 women in Pennsylvania were elected Pennsylvania state representatives, securing a Democratic majority in the state legislature. A huge win for the Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, there. And in Maine, a guy named Scott Harriman defeated Republican Janet Boydoin and further cemented Democrats' hold on the state house in Maine. So another Tuesday, another defiant round of wins for state legislative Democrats is the quote from Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee President Heather Williams. She says the split screen tonight could not be starker as President Trump drones on and tries to cover up his agenda that's left working families behind. Democrats are winning elections. All right. Well, those are the headlines that I've gathered for you today. Let me know what I missed. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com. And now it's on to the clips, the clip show. All right, let's start with this clip. It's old James Carville. Plenty of reasons not to like James Carville, not the least of which he seems pretty sexist and old and doesn't seem to get a lot of things right. But I do love old angry Cajun James Carville who's going after Trump in this clip.
Personal message for Donald John Trump. And you sit still, you son of a bitch, when I'm telling you this. I'm going to tell you right where you are, you fat, sorry sack of shit. People hate you. Now, let me give you, and I'm not just saying this because I don't like you. I'm saying this because I'm telling you what's happening to you right now. I'm get ready to tell you what's going on. First of all, everybody is stabbing you in the back. You can trust no one. I saw the story today where, of course, the Pentagon, because your boy Pete, he can't control shit, okay? Was already back leaking that General Kane told you about all the dangers in bombing Iran. Because why are they doing that? Because they hate you. And they're going to leak, and they're going to talk to the New York Times, and they're going to talk to everybody else. Just like your own staff, right? Susie Wiles, she hates you. That's evident. Sure. Already told you that. They're all leaking like crazy. They're all wondering what's going to happen in the next job. They don't give a shit about you. Okay? They really don't. No, you can't trust anyone. Trust no one. What? Okay. Maybe Stephen Miller. Okay. I'll give you that one. Now, the Congress, they can't stand you. They're not going to pass shit for you. They're not going to do anything for you. They hate you. They know that you're bringing them down to staggering defeat. Don't trust any of them. I wouldn't, even the ones you couldn't trust couldn't do shit anyway. Like Mike Johnson, you don't know whether to whine his ass or scratch his watch. Supreme Court, well, they left the fucking house. I mean, they got their corporate masters to deal with. You're not part of the fucking equation. They don't care about you anymore. They use you. You appointed them. They fuck you. Great. That's just where you are. You know, sit still, Trump. I'll tell you to sit still when I'm talking to you, son of a bitch. Okay? When you're a loser, you lose.
Yeah. When you're a loser, you lose. I like it. I like that from James Carville. All right. Let's head over to my friend Katie Fang. She's now working at the Midas Touch, I guess their YouTube channel, their media empire. And she gives us a rundown of what is going on, why the Trump DOJ is hiding FBI documents from the American people. Let her rip, Katie.
This woman who said, it's Trump. She directly said, his name is Trump. And she said, look, back in 1983, when I was 13 years old, I was introduced to Donald Trump courtesy of Jeffrey Epstein. And this is an exact quote from the accuser in this case. Quote, Trump subsequently forced her head down to his exposed penis, which she subsequently bit. In response, Trump punched her in the head and kicked her out. The FBI interviewed this person 4 times. 4 times. If you thought it was incredible, if you thought it was unfounded, if you thought there wasn't anything there, why would you interview this Epstein victim, or more accurately, Trump victim, 4 times? And don't take my word for it. That 4 times was according to an FBI, quote, serial report, as well as a list called non-testifying witness material, in which case, Ghislaine Maxwell's case, that was released via the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
Okay, well, did you ever think that was going to get reported the way it has by everyone? I'm not sure that a lot of folks did. I tended to, and I still think that as a result of this new revelation, there's no way we're not going to continue hearing about this and get to hopefully the bottom of it, the truth of it. And we'll wait and see, but I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Great explainer by Katie Fang over at the Midas Touch. All right, now let's listen to that Surgeon General nominee who was pressed on a flu vaccine by Senator Tim Kaine. This is pretty outrageous, I think, this back and forth. I'm going to play this whole I think the whole thing, a couple minutes here, is worth it. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine asking Surgeon General nominee Dr. Casey Means about the flu vaccine. Listen to her squirm.
Secretary Kennedy stated, quote, there is no evidence that the flu vaccine prevents serious disease or that it prevents hospitalization or deaths in children. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator Kaine, as I've said, I believe vaccines save lives and are an important part of our...
But I'm not asking about the general. I heard that testimony earlier. Do you agree with the statement that there's no evidence that the flu vaccine prevents serious disease or that it prevents hospitalizations or death in children?
I have not personally seen that quote or that article. I would want to review it before I comment on that.
Let me set aside the quote and set aside Secretary Kennedy and set aside the article. Do you believe that there is evidence that the flu vaccine prevents serious disease and prevents hospitalization or deaths in children?
I believe that all patients should talk to their doctors.
And so do I. And that's not what I'm asking you. Your qualifications have been much discussed. There is a mountain of evidence about this. Do you believe that there's no evidence that the flu vaccine has efficacy in reducing serious injury or hospitalization? This is an easy one, doctor. This is an easy one.
I support the CDC's guidance on the flu vaccine, and I will always be working with the CDC, ACIP, and the agency.
So you believe it is an efficacious vaccine to reduce hospitalization? And
is or is not?
Is. You believe it is?
As I said, I support the CDC's guidance on the flu vaccine.
Let me just say, do you think the flu vaccine reduces the risk of hospitalization or serious injury?
I've said
you're
it.
a doctor.
I believe vaccines save lives. I believe they're an important part of public health strategy.
The flu vaccine, does it reduce the risk of injury or hospitalization?
At the population level, I certainly think that it does.
This is not a hard question.
I answered your question.
I know it. At
a population level, I think it does.
You did.
Yes.
3 minutes in, you answered a question that has a very simple yes, or it had a very simple no.
Yeah, there you go. Tim Kaine. That is just one example of a interrogation that she got from one senator. Senator Patty Murray had her on the ropes over birth control, which she's got a terrible record on. And then Senator Chris Murphy took her to task on her conflicts of interest when she was promoting all kinds of health ideas and additives and supplements and not saying that she was getting paid. That was really good. Worth seeing. We'll see if she gets nominated or if she gets confirmed or not. And now it's on to women's Olympic gold medal hockey team captain Hillary Knight. She was asked at a post-game press conference the other day about the terrible joke that El Porco Chapo made to the men's team and gave a pitch-perfect answer. Here it is.
The joke was distasteful and unfortunate. The way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to really shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sort of sit, and anybody has to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my responsibility. But what is shifting the focus and shifting the narrative of this amazing accomplishment that we all did together. And granted, the men's and the women's team did it together, and that is super special. It's never been done in our program's history. It's something we're extremely proud about. These women are amazing, and whatever is going on shouldn't never outshine or minimize their work and our success on the world stage. This was the best American women's hockey team, the best American team we've ever put together on a world stage when the lights have been the brightest ever. And so I think everybody felt that, going through the tournament. And I want to celebrate. I want people to be remembered for that. I want the legacy of this team to be remembered.
All right. Great answer by team captain Hillary Knight. And speaking of great answers, here's Congressman Seth Moulton. He was talking to Zeteo's Mehdi Hassan about ICE and the language that Democrats are using around it. Should it be abolished? Should it be reformed? And, well, this is pretty straightforward.
What is your position on ICE as an elected Democrat?
It should be abolished, but also it should be prosecuted. And I think I was the first one to start saying prosecuted because the point is that it's not enough just to let them ride off into the sunset.
Yes.
Accountability. Yeah. There has to be accountability. You can't enforce the law if you think you're above it, and these guys are breaking the law every single day.
So correct me if I'm wrong, you are not seen as someone who's on the left of the Democratic Party. You're not in the squad. But you just said the words abolish ICE. I've had progressive members of Congress on this show who won't say that word. They'll say dismantle, reform, replace. But they're worried because abolish ICE is seen as a crazy lefty slogan. You're happy to say it.
I'm happy to say it. I think there's no question. I went to Minneapolis. I was there on the ground. I saw what was going on. By the way, that does not mean that Democrats are opposed to any border security, right? Yeah. How about just having border security under the Department of Justice?
Like it used to be.
Like it used to be.
Before George W. Bush.
Right. And so I think actually the point is that it's not enough just to say no to Trump. You got to have a plan. Democrats need to have a plan. When we lead, we win. Everyone knows that we're opposed to Trump, but we've got to explain what our alternative is.
So when you see your leader, Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, he was on, just the other day, he was on Joy Reid's show, and my good friend Wajahat Ali pushed him on abolishing ICE, and he kept saying, I don't understand why you're pushing this, I don't understand what you're saying, we need to reform it, reform it, reform it. You're saying you would like to see your party go further, the leadership, and say what we all know to be true, which is this can't be reformed.
There was a time when that was believable. It's no longer believable.
Well, how hard was that? I guess it's not that hard after all. So I don't know. I don't know what the right thing for Democrats to do or say about ICE is. They should be abolished. They should be reformed. But how is it messaged? Seth Moulton doesn't seem to have a problem with it. Okay, well, let's get to the comedy. How about it? Let's start with a little bit from last night's monologue on Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC.
Suggesting the Burger King speech tonight, and what a speech it wasn't, huh? I can't believe America missed an all-new Will Trent for this one. It was angry, right? It was an angry speech. The theme of tonight's speech was all foreigners are murderers. And Trump just, he said 0 illegal aliens have been allowed to the United States on his watch, but the door is always open to those who come in legally to be his next wife. So that's something. He bragged about ending DEI. He bragged about kicking 2 million people off food stamps. It was like a Christmas message from the Grinch. Trump applauded the efforts of a World War II vet who liberated an internment camp. At the same time, he is building new ones here in the United States. He claimed gas is down to $1.85 a gallon. When you ramble mostly incoherently for 2 hours, is that technically still a speech, or does it at some point become a conniption fit?
All right. Kimmel last night. Now let's head over to CBS, hear what Colbert had to say.
Right off the bean, right off the top, I have some shocking news. It is Wednesday. Which can't possibly be true because I definitely watched the president speak for at least 3 days last night. We're still all recovering from the president's ramble, brain jamble, but the reviews are in and they are the bad. The New York Times said it was a tedious and tiresome performance. The Atlantic said the State of the Union revealed a sad reality. And Jeffrey Epstein said, I almost died from boredom. Oops, I'm already dead. Don't look into it. I found
All right. Stephen Colbert last night on CBS. And finally, I've got more. It's the couple minutes from Seth Meyers' opening bit on NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Scientists announced this week that they have found microplastics inside tumors removed from patients' prostate glands. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you rather talk about the State of the Union speech from last night? All right, but I'm telling you, this is less gross. President Trump last night delivered the longest State of the Union address in modern history. He basically has only two modes, fully asleep or trying to prove he can stay up all night. It's like having a coke dealer or a toddler as president. Or worse, a coke-dealing toddler. During last night's State of the Union address, President Trump awarded 2 Congressional Medals of Honor and a Purple Heart. He even gave some awards to other people. During the same address, President Trump did not mention the Jeffrey Epstein files, which seems very rude considering how much they mention him. These are bad manners. While entering the House chamber before the State of the Union, President Trump shook hands with Democratic Senator John Fetterman. That's why today the hand makeup wasn't nearly enough. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger delivered the Democrats' response to last night's State of the Union address and spoke for 12 minutes. Well, she sighed for 9 minutes and spoke for 3. According to a new report, the UFC fight scheduled to take place this summer on the White House South Lawn will feature a weigh-in at the Lincoln Memorial. Wow, you got to work pretty hard to be the worst thing that's ever happened to Lincoln. Today was FBI Director Kash Patel's 46th birthday, and there wasn't a surprise party. That's just how he looks. It's just always, every day is a surprise. Dunkin' has begun offering iced coffee in 48-ounce buckets that have a handle, lid, and straw, which is handy because after 48 ounces of coffee, you're gonna need a bucket. A Florida convenience store manager was arrested this week for allegedly stealing more than $300,000 worth of scratch-off lottery tickets in a scam that netted him almost $5. and two free tickets. So we don't know what those have. A new study suggests that the Tyrannosaurus Rex would chase its prey by running on its tiptoes. Scientists believe it's the only dinosaur to go extinct from bullying.
All right. Very good. Love it. Seth Meyers, Colbert, Kimmel, The Clip Show. That is all I've got for you. Now it's time to get to my guests. And I've got 2 of them today, normally just 1. But so it worked out that I got to speak with former FBI agent, former Army, former federal prosecutor. He's now in private practice with his wife of 30 years. He lives in Texas, of course, and he is running for Attorney General there. Tony Box for Texas.com to learn more. Real interesting guy. I was very interested in talking to somebody from the FBI, and I've never talked to to Tony before, so this is our first conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from him. And if you want to donate to his campaign, or if you want to vote for him down there in Texas, spread the word, you can do that. Tony Box for Texas.com. We didn't really talk that much about his campaign for Attorney General there, but we talked a lot about his time at the FBI, answered all my questions. Real cool guy. You can watch this on YouTube, youtube.com/standupwithpete. Let's do it for the first time with Tony Box.
Former Army, former FBI, federal prosecutor, and now you're running for Attorney General in Texas. So that primary election is next week? Welcome to Stand Up for the first time. Really appreciate you joining me. Thank you for your service in all these different government agencies.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's true. I have had all of those jobs. I cannot hold a job. When I become AG, I hope I can keep that for 4 years. But yes, thank you for having me. It's going to be a wild ride. We got this primary next Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to kicking butt and moving on after that.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that, but I also just first want to talk about the rest of your career. I want to look at a little bit of the past before we get to the future. Pretty cool if I'm talking to the future Attorney General of Texas, which a state I've got plenty to make assumptions about. Where'd you grow up, and when and why did you join the Army?
So I grew up in Chicago, and I joined the Army my first week of college. I joined the Army Reserves and the ROTC as soon as I went to college, which was at Morehouse College, and I stayed there all 4 years. When everybody else was partying like a rock star, I was frequently in the fields, but I will tell you I did party like a rock star at times.
A Morehouse.
Joined the Army. Went to become a tanker, the big 181 battle tanks after that. So that was the beginning of my Army career.
How long were you in the Army? What year did you join active duty?
I joined active duty in 90.
Okay.
And stayed until the late 93, and then I got out and moved on to other things after that.
Well, exciting to think about that time in the military, which is like pre-quote war on terror, pre-9/11. What were you doing on September 11th with your life and career?
So I was an FBI agent, special agent FBI. I was sitting in a field office with my buddies, and a plane hit the first tower, and I was like, oh, shit, it's a terrorist attack. And people were saying, oh, it was a mistake and all this other crap. And I was like, no way, Jose, I know exactly what's going on. And so we gathered around the TV set after the second plane hit, and then the third plane. And so we said, look, man, we got to get our crap together, and we got to head to New York. And so that's exactly what we did.
What was your job then? Can you talk about it?
Yeah. We did a lot of things. We did interviews. They were interviewing anybody and everybody who had a tip. Mm-hmm. And there were thousands of tips. And so we did that. And then we went to the Fresh Kills landfill to recover body parts and assets and IDs and anything we could find. And we had to breathe toxic fumes for weeks. And many of those guys, many of my colleagues who were there with me, are now deceased as a result of breathing those toxic fumes.
So you could have potentially suffered physical. You've been sick, and certainly mental and emotional trauma. I mean, did you see body parts? You saw that?
I did. I saw a lot of that.
I don't know how you.
At the FBI headquarters, we have a wall of honor. And it used to be people who have gotten shot or died otherwise in the line of duty. But now we have plenty of my former colleagues who died as a result of breathing toxic fumes now on the wall of honor. And when I go back to D.C., and when I go back to headquarters, I often look at that wall. And I think it could be me.
Yeah, for sure. Man, wow. I guess you got lucky in that case.
Yeah. I'm like a cat.
If you say
there's
so.
more.
Yeah. I have a question about the FBI and how it works in terms of how the resources are distributed. And it would seem after 9/11, the threat matrix changed a tremendous amount. And I would imagine the FBI focused a lot more on that foreign threat, the jihadist threat, and so on. Still protecting, domestic. It's not going overseas necessarily, although I know they do conduct some investigations overseas. I'm good friends with Ali Soufan, who I'm sure you know about, and he investigated the USS Cole attack. But I just wonder, given where we're at now, from 9/11 to however you were there in 10 years in the FBI, how much did you see like the kind of priorities and the resources of the FBI change? Because I personally think that the primary threat has always been the anti-government, right-wing, kind of white nationalist threat. There's a whole bunch of threats. But in terms of terrorism specifically, that's where most of the attacks and most of the threats have come through. Obviously, Timothy McVeigh, Waco, Ruby Ridge, you can name them over and over. And those are the ones, before the, quote, Trump era, if you will. And so my question is about how the FBI resources things, because now it seems like they're looking at white folks as the victims, and the whole civil rights division of the Department of Justice seems to be thinking that it's, the white Christian who's discriminated against and who's at threat, and that Antifa is they said the primary threat, and there is no such thing really as Antifa. So it's a long way to get to the resource question about the FBI and how it's political or how it's actually, thinking about what the biggest threats are.
So yeah, I can talk about that. So when I first went in, there was really two sides of the house. There was the criminal side of the house, and there's the counterterrorism side of the house, which is kind of what you described, preventing terrorism against the country. And the CT counterterrorism side was not nearly as big. But then after 9/11, a ton of resources, financial resources, human resources went over there. And they did great work trying to prevent another 9/11 from happening. And for many, many years, that's kind of how we rolled as an organization, and focusing on real threats to the country. Now, this new FBI and this new DOJ and their perceived threats against Antifa, which is, like you said, not a real organization, is something that I don't recognize. To be honest, I don't know how the resources are being allocated, but I do know it appears as if there's a ton of resources being allocated to this non-existent threat, and it appears as if it's political, and which there's no room for those games, right? We got real work. The FBI's got real work to do, and not to do politics for headlines.
Well, you must talk to a lot of the guys. I mean, how long were you there, and when did you leave?
9 years.
Yeah. And then you became a federal prosecutor?
I had a break in service. I went to work for a consulting firm, and then I worked for Congress, and then I became a federal prosecutor after that.
Where did you do that work as a prosecutor?
St. Louis. So it was a ton of street crime and violent crime, drugs, guns, violent crimes, murders, things of that nature. And then after some years, I transitioned to large white-collar cases, which I'll be honest, I love those, putting together those complex cases. I'm a CPA, and so that was really in my wheelhouse.
Let me ask you a question about that, a moral question about that, because violent crime can take someone's life, and I guess that's the worst thing that could happen, or sexual assault or something like that. Obviously, we want to get those people, we want to stop them. But, white-collar crime, I feel like the worst white-collar crime is defrauding someone, an older person especially's entire life savings.
Yeah.
We see that happen over and over and over again, white-collar criminals doing that, these scams that they're running. It would seem that the federal departments that are supposed to be looking in that have been gutted or have been reprioritized or are looking the other way. But the moral question is like, how do you see that kind of a crime? What should be the penalty? By the way, the president just pardoned a guy who was guilty of bilking millions and millions of people out of their savings. The guy probably paid him off somehow. Who knows? But I've just, morally, we look at violent crime and we all generally agree to a certain extent, what to do about it or why it happens. I guess we don't agree, but we have a certain view of it. But white-collar crime, the financial crisis, it ruined a generation of homeowners, including me. How do you look at that, the difference in morality about those different types of crime?
Yeah, so I have a full career of dealing with white-collar criminals and victims and their incredibly sad stories about losing their life savings and how it destroyed them, and many people end up taking their lives.
Sure.
They get sick, as a result, they have mental health issues, and it's all understandable because you have saved very, very, in a very disciplined manner, and all of a sudden some scammer takes all of that away from you and you have nothing at all. And so how do I see that? I see it as almost on par with a violent criminal.
I do too.
You destroyed somebody's life and you should be punished for doing so.
Is it hard to prosecute those types of crimes?
Is it hard to get a prosecution or like to get to my mental state where I feel good about prosecuting them? It's not hard for me.
No, not is it morally difficult. Is it legally challenging to create a case against someone who's committed these types of crimes?
No, I don't think it's difficult. Sometimes time consuming, and you may have to do subpoena bank records that takes weeks or months, and you put together a financial case, and then maybe you need to interview 4 or 5 folks to victims, and then eventually you're going to try to interview the subject or the person that committed the crime. And it's time consuming. I can't say many of them can be done in less than a year unless you have some sort of confession. But nonetheless, it needs to be done. And you alluded to it. I mean, the federal government has largely retreated from many of these cases.
Crazy.
And these victims, these people are being victimized in greater numbers, and there's less enforcement. And so it's extremely sad to see.
How should
I deal with it now?
And in an ideal world, in an ideal America, how should the federal government, much less state and local governments, deal with these types of criminal schemes? And by the way, I think we have to talk about a little bit about the different kinds, and I would only separate them into domestic and foreign. My understanding is it's almost impossible to find, much less prosecute, some foreign phone bank of callers that are doing what they did to my daughter, which was convince her to put her savings in Bitcoin. I mean, she got bilked and it was horrific. And I can't imagine anybody else going through that. And yet there's no recourse because there's no way to find that person. So I don't know how you stop the foreign ones, and I don't know what to do or how, hard it is to prosecute the domestic scammers.
So it's difficult, but it's not impossible. When I was an agent, we actually prosecuted a guy from Europe who we knew he was doing it over there, and it would be difficult to go over there and get him. So we lured him to the United States, and once he got to the U.S., got to the airport, we nabbed him. So it's difficult, but just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible. And the United States can get ahead of some of these scams that are taking place overseas, work with the other countries, use our leverage, use our power, pressure them to stop, to let us get access to some of these records. That goes on, but not nearly at the scale that it should. And so internationally, it's harder, but it's not impossible. And we should really put more resources into that. And then domestically, we also are not allocating the resources. And it's just going to get worse until we do.
You're running for attorney general in Texas. So all kinds of issues that you have to be prepared to deal with there. I do want to ask you just one question about race. As a black man in America working in law enforcement, black folks alone can see you skeptically and be real mean, call you all kinds of names, and I'll be nice by saying they often don't trust black people who work in law enforcement. How have you dealt with that issue? And I could talk about race forever with you, but I definitely just wanted to ask your view on that question as a black man who spent his career in law enforcement.
Yeah, it varies, right? A lot of people are skeptical. A lot of folks trust us. But I think it really comes down to the individual. If I were to encounter an individual, a black person, black folks, meet me and they're like, look, man, I don't trust you. I say, well, spend 10 minutes with me and have a conversation and see if I appear untrustworthy. And ask me about the work that I've done. Ask me about the people who I've gotten out of jail who have been prosecuted improperly or been prosecuted who are innocent. Ask me about what I've done for the community, and then you'll trust me. And these people want to trust law enforcement. They've just had bad experiences.
Yeah.
But once they realize that you're in their corner, not a problem.
How do you feel about race relations in America at this point in your life, at this point in your career? Is there a way you would describe the kind of place that we find ourselves in 2026 with a president who a lot of us think is a white supremacist and a burgeoning white nationalist movement. People use different terminology. I'm not sure what you use, but how do you view race relations in America today?
It's a work in progress. Has been, will be. It's worth the fight. Maybe there's a step back because of a certain administration, this one, namely. But, there are many, many folks who are well-meaning. You mentioned I was running for AG. My reception has been overwhelmingly positive with all kind of folks, Black folks, white folks, Latinos, overwhelmingly positive. And I haven't been called a bad name yet. And I've been on the trail for a long time. And so, yeah, it's a work in progress. It's not, it's not perfect, but it's also not to the point where we should be trying to kill each other, right? We should continue to work to have better relations.
Specifically on voting rights, what do you make of what's happened to the crown jewel of the civil rights movement, the Voting Rights Act, and it being gutted by the Supreme Court? How does it affect you in Texas? This push for voter ID and these kind of poll tests, if you will, some people would refer to them. What do you think about the election security in America and all of the voting rights that have been rolled back?
Yeah, incredibly disappointing that the Voting Rights Act has been gutted. I mean, that was instrumental in giving folks the right to vote and allowing them to have confidence that their vote would be counted and that they would not be harassed. And all I can make of it, maybe somebody can make something else of it, is there are certain people who want less people to vote as opposed to more people voting, which is hard to imagine. But that is where we are today. And so, it's sad, but folks need to continue to fight. Just like they gutted it. We got the Voting Rights Act, now they're gutting it. We need to restore it when we get a chance and fight every effort to weaken our voting rights.
All right, I got to ask you about this Kash Patel character.
Right.
I'm just going to throw out a few names of FBI directors, and you can say who you worked under too. But, of course, Robert Mueller, is it Louis Freeh, James Comey, and Christopher Wray was the one. And then Kash Patel. All of these other previous directors were, at least on paper, qualified for the job. Many of them had spent their career in the FBI and worked their way up from a field agent or had some other national security experience. You might not have liked them, but they were all arguably very qualified. Also, I would argue, and generally speaking, understated, didn't draw a lot of attention to them. I think James Comey, maybe with some of his announcements, someone might say, but still seemed like a pretty more quiet spoken. That was the job of the FBI director. It would seem not to be, this type of outgoing, brash, outspoken, belligerent character when you see him in front of Congress or before. Here he is at the Olympics, draining beers, screaming and cheering. And there's a lot of things to say about it, but I wanted to get your take as a former FBI agent. What did you see when you saw that? What do you think about it compared to the other FBI directors you've worked for and dealt with? And what do your friends who work in or did work in the FBI think of Kash Patel and his behavior?
Yeah, so all of those guys you named were leaders. They were highly accomplished. They were all, I think everyone was a lawyer. They had full careers where they distinguished themselves in the law. A couple of those guys were judges. Sessions was a head of the FBI, and he was the head of the CIA. They all carried a certain seriousness and respect with them because they spoke softly and they carried a big stick. They did not demean the agency, and they were genuinely interested in advancing the mission of the country and FBI maintaining its status. As people told me this all the time, I didn't say it, but people would say FBI is the premier law enforcement agency in the world. And they cared about that. And then now we have this current director who seems to not care about it. He wants to party like a rock star. He wants to drain beers on TV and otherwise cartoonish behavior. He seems to want to do the bro culture thing, which, mind you, is not bad, but you can't do that and be the FBI director at the same time. Look, if you want to party with your friends, but you have to have a seriousness to run the FBI. You have to be a serious person. And that's not what we see.
I mean, I would guess be a little harsher. You got to be careful about how much you party when your job is FBI director. I mean, maybe you have that job for 10 years. Maybe you have it for 2 years. But like, there can't be a lot of going out and getting drunk when you're FBI director, because when the call comes that a terrible thing has happened, and it comes every day of the week if you took that call, and people named off all of the things. A lot of people were focusing on the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother, which I was like, listen, that's terrible. But there's all kinds of everyday crime that the FBI director needs to be dealing with, including a potential assassination of the president the same day that he was in the locker room in another country partying on camera in front of the world like a complete jackass, like a fraternity brother, like a hockey player who had just won a game. Like, to me, by the way, it was just so cringe. I don't know anybody who would step in. It's like stolen valor. You don't get to be in the locker room. You don't get to wear the medal either. You don't get to put on the skates. You know, like, what are you doing in there? Who would walk in and be like, I deserve to be here? What kind of personality does that require? And I think we know what kind of personality it requires. Someone who thinks he's unstoppable and can do whatever he wants. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, and also just took the job for the wrong reasons, right? Took the job for the perks and the prestige, and not the seriousness, and not to carry out the mission of the country.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just really demeaning to all the other people who are in the organization who really tell themselves, I am going to comport myself in an extremely high manner because I work for the FBI. And to do what he did would bring shame to the FBI. And quite frankly, it would probably make me lose my job. But, he just doesn't seem to get it. Every morning, you mentioned the seriousness. Every morning, historically, the FBI director gets a security brief early in the morning. And the stuff that's on that security brief would make your head spin, right? And the serious stuff, like this person is planning a plot against the United States. This person wants to do a dirty bomb. This person wants to, this organization may be planning this. Then this cartel wants to import these drugs into the country. And that's the kind of stuff that he should be focusing on instead of going over to Italy.
I mean, with the potential attack in Iran, with the drug cartel killing in Mexico, both those scenarios could activate cells in the U.S. You would want to be on high alert if those are the kinds of things that are happening. And those are kind of the kind of things that are happening all the time. By the way, the other thing that's just like kind of the height of arrogance and ego, it's so bizarre. Pete Hegseth telling military brass who served their whole careers, like talking down to them and criticizing them. Same thing with Akash Patel. Like, what do your friends in the military, what do your friends in the FBI see when you got a Hegseth or a Patel who have no right being in charge, criticizing, degrading and insulting the kind of the rank and file? It's like a man telling women how to feel, or a white person telling a black person how to feel. It's like, you have no right to necessarily be in this room, or if you want to be in this room, fine, but get in line or find your place. Like, these guys are way out of line and way out of place in terms of not having any credibility, telling those who do how to behave. I mean, is that not how guys see it? Doesn't we see it that way with those guys like that?
Yeah, I talk to military folks all the time. I talk to my buddies from the FBI, former buddies, current buddies, who so this is what it boils down to. When you behave that way, then you don't have the respect of the rank and file, right?
I would think.
You're a leader, and your calling card is the respect that you have for the people under you. You have to earn that respect. It's not just given to you. And these guys are abandoning that respect that they once had upon assuming the office. And it affects everybody when they do what they have done to the senior brass and the senior leadership, and you hollow out the FBI leadership and who's going to run the agency while you're partying. And so, it's just no respect for many of the leaders at the top, many of the people at the top.
What do you hear about morale currently in the FBI? It feels like
it's low. It's in the basement, right? It's way down, way, way down. Understandably so, right? I mean, how could it be up in this environment, right? You tell the agents you can't misuse government resources, because if you do, you're going to get fired. But then you see the Akash Patel flying all over the place,
right?
Where they're like, what's up with that, right? How come he can do it and I can't do it? And so, yeah, they feel
it would be one thing if he paid his dues and was an FBI agent and did all the things that you got to do from, the beginning of your career to the middle to the end. That would be one thing if he was then flying around on that plane and acting a fool. But he didn't. He didn't pay his dues. And I don't care who you are. I mean, men especially, we take issue with that. We have egos and insecurities. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Especially if you're someone in law enforcement. You're kind of an alpha type of guy. And meanwhile, this beta cuck is over here telling you what to do. It just can't possibly go well for the guy. How much do you just worry about having someone like that in charge of such an important national security agency?
Yeah, I worry that, stuff could happen and we cannot be prepared. All of that leadership, all of that institutional knowledge is now gone, either fired or they quit. And I worry about our ability to be able to respond to a big deal. And the second thing I worry about is building the organizations back up in the future. How long is it going to take? How are you going to find people to replace the people who have now gone? I worry about that daily.
You're running for attorney general there in Texas. It's a very interesting state. I'm trying to be as generous as I can. The politics there are really crazy. Obviously, you've got a very far right-wing governor. Your attorney general seems to have committed all kinds of crimes. Ken Paxton, is that the guy?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, what do you make of the Texas law enforcement, the governor, and the current AG? What would you do to change, and how do you get along with this governor if you got elected?
Just so the governor's running. So the AG's leaving,
right,
running for the Senate. So it's an open seat. So I won't have to run against him. He's got a ton of problems, but that's for him and the other Republicans.
Do you think he wins? You're a Texas guy. Do you think that Ken Paxton can beat John Cornyn in a Republican primary?
I do. I think he can. I'm not saying he will, but for sure he can. He has enough fans to win.
Do you want to take a guess, or have you endorsed or promoted either Tellerico or Jasmine Crockett for the Democratic primary?
No, I haven't endorsed. And even if I wanted to guess, I can't guess because it's so close and they are working so hard. I mean, just night and day all over this big state. I don't know if either one of those two phenomenal candidates sleep. My wife just saw Jasmine just today out on the trail. And she's getting, from what I hear from folks, she's getting 2 hours of sleep a night. And the same for Tellerico. They're great politicians. They're great people. And they're working hard to win their races.
AG, you're running for this job. Why? What do you want to do for Texans as the top law enforcement guy in the whole state?
A whole bunch, right? But number one is bring some integrity back to that office. I talked about it earlier with leadership in the big organizations, for example, the FBI. If you have a leader at the top, right, who is not doing his job, who does not have integrity, it's just going to go all the way down the organization, and it's just going to be far less effective than it should be. So I want to bring integrity back to that office. I want to let people know, look, this is a non-political office, and if you are an ideologue, thank you for your service, but it's not welcome here. We don't need you. And so we are going to concentrate, much like the old FBI and the old DOJ used to be, non-political, Democrat, Republican, independent. We will take enforcement action against any and all if you harm Texas. And if and if it's on a federal level, if you try to violate the Constitution, then that is also within the purview of the Attorney General. And I will be extremely aggressive with all of those things. And I want to just, bring my career of public service to the people of Texas, because I've been blessed so much that I want to be a blessing to others and continue to serve and use the skills that I've built over, a very long career.
Tony Box for Texas.com if you want to support his campaign. The primary is next week?
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Good luck to you, man. It's really great talking to you. No matter what happens, I hope that we can keep talking. I thought of one more question before I let you go, which is when we're all kind of obsessed, I think for good reason, about what is going on in these Epstein files. My question to you is, as a former FBI agent, what we're seeing is that all kinds of crimes were reported to FBI agents, and we're kind of learning what an FBI agent's job is through reading through some of these files. You mentioned following up on every tip after 9/11. I'm sure the same was the case if a young woman was a victim of sexual assault and went to the FBI. They followed up. I just wonder what your professional opinion is, if you've paid attention to it, or what you think went on there. If things were reported to FBI agents, why weren't they prosecuted? Why weren't they investigated further? It does seem, I don't know much, but it does seem like the trail went cold when there was a lot of evidence from more than a couple of people about the crimes that were being committed by Epstein and others.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is in terms of like the actual on the ground, the street agent, when those complaints come in and those individuals are interviewed, then FBI agents are required to document that on a document. It's called an FD-302, and you write up a summary of the meeting or the interview. And from what I understand, a lot of those things are missing. And so the people say, well, maybe the agents didn't do the interviews. Maybe they didn't write it up. Doubt it. Those things are probably missing because we were required to write those things up, and I'm sure they did.
What question go ahead. You're going to say more.
No.
What question do you have, if any, about anything regarding the Epstein files and the FBI's pursuit of any of these allegations, I guess?
Yeah. At what point did the system break down, right? Clearly the guy was a pedophile. Clearly the guy committed hundreds of crimes. He was a criminal. FBI agents live to prosecute criminals, but he was not prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Why? What broke down? How did the typical chain? It's very simple, right? You investigate a case, you take it to the prosecutor says this is a good case, and then you indict the individual goes to jail for a very long time. Where did that break down? Did it break down at the DOJ level, and how and where and why?
Really interesting talking to you, man. I wish you all the best of luck on your campaign for Attorney General there in Texas. Tony Box for Texas.com. Appreciate your service in all the different ways and jobs that you've had. And I wish nothing but the best for you. It was really dope. Just so interesting to ask you all these questions based on your fascinating career, Tony.
Happy to be here. I'd love to come back and talk to you more.
All right, there you go. Tony Box for Texas.com. He was a soldier, prosecutor, FBI agent, SWAT team, and very, very interesting guy. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Tony. And now it's time to get to our friend, my friend and yours. It's Maura Quint. She is now working at Families Over Billionaires, familiesoverbillionaires.org. They support movement in states and nationally to make wealthy individuals and most profitable corporations pay what they owe so all of us can thrive. Go to familiesoverbillionaires.org. Follow Maura on Blue Sky as well as Instagram, where she's really, really great. That's how you can, one way you can support her, and read her very, very funny piece recapping the State of the Union. Maura Quint's State of the Union recap at McSweeney's.net. I'll link to it in the show notes and, of course, on social media. Always a great conversation with Maura. I think you'll love this. Let's do it. 2, 3, 2, 1, and it's time for some fun with Maura Quint. Everybody with her new swag. She's got swag. Anti-fascist social club. What else does it say?
I think that's just it.
Oh,
it's
just
like
a
a
hand.
little,
all right. Yeah. Where do you get that? Are you selling that? Are you making? Is this your side hustle?
No. This guy who had me on his. Sometimes I go on other podcasts. I didn't want to tell you like this. I thought it would be really awful, but sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. So I went on another podcast, and that guy sent me merch. You've never sent me any merch, Pete.
I don't have any merch. I have no merch.
Why don't you have merch? You should have merch.
I think I'm lazy and uncomfortable with like my name on something and selling it, but it's stupid. It doesn't have to have my name on it.
It doesn't have to have your name on it. Yeah.
Maybe I should just sell a picture of
a
t-shirt with my face on it. I think that would probably actually be with some snappy quotes and just my face, like and
no quotes, just the face, just a line drawing of your face.
It would be weird to be a bald white guy wearing another bald white guy as a t-shirt.
It would be
super confusing.
Weird in the right way.
Oh, all right. You heard it here, everybody. Let's sell this swag. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining me. There's a lot to talk with you about. I got very excited. I didn't know you were doing this on the State of the Union. You do it often when there's big debates, I guess you've done it in the past on State of the Union, right? But you wrote.
I have not done it.
Oh, you've never done it
before, and
oh.
I didn't know I was doing it either until like 6 p.m.
It is real good. Maura Quint's State of the Union recap. She didn't know she was doing it until just a couple of hours before it. And it's hilarious, and everybody is sharing and reading it today. Be a cool kid and sign up. I'm just going to read my two favorite pieces, and I like every one of these jokes and so on. But this is your recap. Do you need to set it up or say anything before I read?
No, I mean, it's just an absolutely accurate, 100% factual retelling of what happened at the State of the Union. That's all.
8:52 p.m. The State of the Union is opened by House Majority Leader Mike Johnson, who has been released from his medium-sized dog cage, specially for this evening. He welcomes congressional attendees with a giggle, as this is the first time he's been permitted to speak since late January. Standing on the dais beside him is Vice President and Fallout Boy fanfic author J.D. Vance. While most Republicans have chosen red, Vance wears a blue tie to complement Peter Thiel's eyes. I didn't see it coming.
It's thoughtful like that.
I thought it was really great way to point out that Peter Thiel basically made him, ran his Senate campaign, is behind him being the nominee, and then now the vice president. So very funny. And then later on in this recap of the State of the Union, it says, Trump claims, "I love America." Fact check, Trump has never once felt love.
Yeah.
And then
it wasn't hard to fact check that.
It goes on at 10:37 p.m. Trump continues, now all riled up. Democrats are evil and shouldn't be allowed to live. Speaking of which, we must reject political violence of any kind. Look what happened to my best friend, Charlie Kirk. Well, we have a little surprise for you. Then the taxidermied corpse of Charlie Kirk is dropped and swings from the rafters as red, white, and blue fireworks explode inside the room, raining down sparks and lightning. One of the attending military generals is set on fire. Erica Kirk pretends to sniffle like a bad simulacrum of grief before holding up a QR code for viewers to donate to her Charlie Kirk Memorial Tiki Vacation Facelift Fund. If only I could have pronounced that word, I would have nailed it otherwise. Very, very funny recap. I mean, I had a lot of laughs throughout this. Thank you very much for this gift.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. That is, I mean, like, if I have to suffer through and watch this for work reasons, I might as well make some hash out of it so that people can find out what happened, because I don't want others to have to watch this monstrosity.
I can't believe what happened at 11:08 p.m. where you recapped and said, nearly concluding this lengthy live festival, formerly known as the State of the Union, Trump introduces a World War II fighter pilot and awards him the Medal of Honor. I've always wanted a Congressional Medal of Honor, but they never give it to me. I keep killing people all the time, and yet they still don't give it to me. We'll change that in my third term. I can't believe when I read that, I wasn't sure.
Here's the thing. That is so close to the truth.
Yeah.
He did reference a third term, not at that moment, but he referenced it earlier. He did say he wanted the Medal of Honor and that they wouldn't give it to him, but he'd figure that out. Like the additional elements there are I just made the subtext text. That's it.
Really good. Very good. Everybody go read it. Go share it. Go support Maura right there at McSweeney's.net. What else is there to say about the State of the Union, the reactions to it? The Democrats showed up. Many of them boycotted it. What other reactions do you have to last night?
I mean, it was awful. It was really, really awful. And I mean, like, we know it's always going to be terrible, but every so often when you have to confront it and you have to see it right there, it's just so jarring and shocking. I was quite frustrated that the Dems were in the room. I know many of them boycotted, and I think that was absolutely the right move. Move On, Indivisible Working Families Party, Families Over Billionaires, my group as well. Many groups were helping out with the counter programming, the live stream that was happening. A lot of Dems joined in on that. And I respected Representative Al Green, who held up the sign saying Black people aren't apes, I think, or monkeys. I'm not entirely
apes,
sure.
And that was just a weird, surreal. There's a photograph now. It's gone pretty symbolic or dramatic of him.
Yeah, I mean, at least he was making a choice that is going to actually create headlines that reframe things. Because you read that sign and you ask questions like, what what is he talking about, right? Like, if you don't instantly know the reference, that is a confusing sign, which is interesting then, because people want to know, more about it. So now he has found a way to like actually control a little bit of the narrative coming out of it and point to the fact that Trump's a racist piece of shit. I don't think any of the other Dems did anything that really helped. I think their presence was just giving Trump something to like attack, giving them a villain in the room, which he really wanted. I think he was feeding off that energy. Right. And it was really awful to watch. It was really really disgusting. And only a handful of them walked out. Now, Representative Rashida Tlaib and Representative Ilhan Omar, they were both yelling back. They were not passively
I thought that was rude.
But I mean, I understand why they did that and why they would want to do that. And they I know I'm ignoring you. And they had they were wearing like release the files.
Yeah.
So okay, I understand. And I think that they were well intended. I just don't think it really worked. And I think simply just not being in the room was the right choice.
All right. So we saw the reactions. We see that it's crazy. We see that he is the least popular president at this point in his presidency that's ever given a State of the Union. We see he's lost support amongst a whole number of groups that had supported him. And we see he keeps punching himself in the own dick anytime he can. And finally, we see that this Epstein Files thing is not going away. It should be on the front pages, I feel like, every day, that apparently NPR found and other news agencies have confirmed, like 50 or 53 pages missing that apparently pertain to allegations against Trump by a young victim of his and Jeffrey Epstein's. And so, he's lost so much power and support, yet he's still in power, and we have to deal with that every day. It's hard to think where we're at right now, given the upcoming midterm elections, but where are we at as a country, as a culture, as the moment?
It is really complicated and frustrating. We're in a really bad spot. I mean, he's able to dominate and do a lot of shit that he should not be allowed to do, and he's going to keep plowing through and doing it. He's creating generational problems that are going to take forever to repair and undo. And I think what is most frustrating, and I certainly understand anyone who feels like, well, you can't attack the Dems because the Republicans are the problem. I get that instinct, but like, the Republicans are just such a fucking pit of bog. Like, there's nothing there. They are worthless. And if all of them drop dead, nothing will be lost, and the world will instantly be just a little bit better regardless. So I have nothing to say about them. I am quite frustrated that we do not have a strong group of Dems who are stepping in this moment, because there is such an opportunity here to lead. And I'm quite nervous that the Dems are going to win the midterms simply because people hate Trump, simply because there is a tide turn, and then they're going to waste it. Like, you cannot step into that and take any control over any of the chambers and then do nothing with it. Well, that's not going to work. That's
a really important concern, one that we should be voicing every day to put pressure on them to do. We can talk about what we hope that they will do, which probably is a mix of accountability and oversight, as well as trying to pass some kind of legislation or fix some of the things that have been broken. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, I think that's the compromise position. I mean, I was thinking burn it all down, but I'm good with what you just said.
Okay, fair enough. And what do you make of what I said about just the Epstein Files, and that this is not going away and it continues to be front page news? And now, by the way, have you read about this Texas Republican Tony Gonzalez? Are you read up on this cat?
Probably. There's so many I can't pull them apart.
He was having an affair with a staffer.
Oh, who self-immolated?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Her mom doesn't believe she killed herself. Her last words are I don't want to die. But she had lost kind of everything as a result of this affair. So you could see the incentive there, her husband, her family, her reputation. And this guy was Tony Gonzalez. He was her staffer. So whether or not she killed herself, he clearly had these text messages. And Republicans
or was murdered, is what we're saying.
Or
here.
I mean, either way, who knows how she died? We know that she died, and we know that he had an affair with her. It's no longer alleged. We see the text messages. He's not resigning, and it just seems to me to add to this like pile of the worst of men. You know, there's terrible men, there's terrible, terrible men, and then there's the worst of the terrible, and they are supporting him in not resigning. Many of them are.
Well, yeah, they're not. They're the no accountability administration. Like they wouldn't want him to resign. They wouldn't want anyone to resign over doing what? Over like something you did to a lady. That's not a person. Who cares? Like
and an affair with a staffer used to be a thing that Republican Americans would certainly find as a litmus test, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. They used to, but we're so far past that. There is absolutely zero accountability, and accountability is in fact weakness at this point. So no, it's really reprehensible, and we're so far down that rabbit hole. It is hard to imagine us getting out of it, but I do think we can. And I think a lot of it is going to be shaming people again. I think we're going to need to do a little bit of shaming. We're going to bring it back.
What do you mean?
Back
like, for example, and how does that look, and who is doing the shaming?
Well, I mean, all right, you're talking about the extreme elements of it, right? My concern is that we have shifted the Overton window on what's appropriate and how men should behave. And I think we can all look and say like, hey, don't rape children on an island with billionaires. Like, we can point to that broadly as a society and say like, okay, that's bad. Don't do that. But I think that we have gotten to a point where we are letting a lot of men who would not rape a child say, well, I'm a good dude. I mean, I don't do anything. I never say anything. And when a bunch of guys are being awful, I just kind of keep my head down. But I'm a good dude because I'm not doing the most horrible part. And we need to get to a point where men are willing to shame one another.
Yes.
Call it out.
Yes.
And have no problem. And in fact, feel that they need to speak in these moments and say, well, this is not okay.
You're a boy mom, and you saw.
We don't use that term, but yeah. Uh-huh.
What do you use?
I'm a mom who has kids.
Oh, you don't like to refer to the fact
I don't
that
want
you're
to
raising.
be that. That's horrible.
Well, they are shaming boy moms because of the hockey team behavior. Particularly, one of the moms was a champion female player herself, and her sons, the Hughes brothers, are. And so, like, people are flaming that woman because she made public comments about "can't we just get along" kind of thing. And they're saying this is a result of parenting, specifically mothers that aren't telling their sons how to treat and talk to women. Do you think that that's a fair accusation that's being levied across social media in less than 110 characters?
I think that no matter what happens, we'll find a way to blame a woman for it. That's for sure. We're real good at that one. So,
Yeah.
No, broadly, I do not think that shaming the moms. I mean, I think if we make it shaming the parents, then I think then I'm more willing to engage on that front because I think that there's certainly something to be said for how we're raising our children. But it sounds I don't know. I haven't paid any attention to these parents, so I don't know. For all I know, they're Trump supporters. I don't know who these people are. Yeah. They might just be terrible people.
Well, just the hypothetical of. We expect a father of a son to either role model shitty behavior or say the wrong thing, teach the wrong thing. But women, it should be their responsibility to teach their sons right from wrong and how to treat a woman. I think that's the responsibility that a lot of people try to put on the woman because, the man's just going to be a sexist prick anyway, no matter what. We can't expect anything from the father if the son.
I mean, if we're all going to just agree that men are terrible and we should just drive them off the earth, then that's a different conversation, and I'm willing to engage. I'm not 100% saying that that's the right choice. I'm just saying
at least
I'll hear you out.
A biodome, maybe. We don't have to drive them off the earth, but give us.
No, we got to get them.
A biodome. An iridescent dome that we all live in until we kill each other.
Is it going to also be a thunderdome? Will there be
there could be thunder in there. Thunder and lightning. That's just going to be The most
I'm thinking more Mad Max style, but sure.
The most homoerotic. It's going to turn into a gay paradise is what it's going to be. We're all just going to be like, fuck it.
I think it's a gay nightmare, but yeah.
What did you make of that hockey thing at all? What did you think of Kash Patel in the locker room?
Just randomly taking the plane wherever he wants to go so that the FBI can't do any of their jobs because the plane's never there to get to the investigation.
Apparently there's evidence.
I think that guy has figured out how to, live his frat boy dreams.
Yeah.
And they're going to come crashing down because that's what frat boy dreams do.
Are you sure? Your lips to God's ears, but are you sure they're going to come crashing down on that guy? Because they have to. He has to get.
No, I cannot promise you that everybody is going to actually meet their appropriate end. I am not the author of a children's book where I get to wrap it all up by saying, then they all died horribly. It's.
I just want real, some kind of real justice and embarrassment and accountability, not only for Kash Patel, but for Kristi Noem and for everybody that has committed horrific crimes and crime. I mean, by the way, there's you could speak to this probably and talk about this. I don't know how to talk about it. There's how many billions of dollars in straight corruption and bribes that this administration has every week in the headlines. It's just no way to cover the type and impact and regularity of the corrupt acts. How do we talk about it without being numb to the crimes that are committed in an open air?
I don't think we can. I mean, I really don't think there's any way for our minds to process all of the horrors at once. And there are so many horrors that are directly or indirectly happening through Trump and all of his cronies. I don't think there's any way for us to fully grasp all of that. What I think is going to need to happen though, and this is where again I get very frustrated. We need an opposition party that is calling for outright prosecution and for consequence. And we cannot have an opposition party that is still trying to work with these people. You cannot try to work with evil, murdering asshole. You can't. That's not a person that you can let's all work together. I don't care if the house is on fire. You don't ask them to come over and grab a bucket because they're not going to help. They're going to throw the water that you need for the house fire somewhere else.
They'll sell it.
You need to lock them up.
They'll sell the water.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not advocating for a prison industrial complex here, but I am advocating for true consequences to be faced by these people.
Or at least in this case, not making an effort to try to create unity or compromise when there's none to be had, and you're just wasting your time and in the end embarrassed as well and looking like a schmuck because you tried to work with this person who can't be worked with, who can't be trusted, and it's proven over and over.
They all need to be tried for treason among anything else. But I mean, that's kind of the highest crime I know. If I knew a higher crime, I'd put it up there. But I'm pretty sure that we placed that one pretty high. But they absolutely, we need to be at a place where we have an opposition party that is unified in calling for them to meet immediate consequences. We cannot have ones that are going, I mean, if we just are quiet, will you just let us be here? No, that doesn't work.
Impression of democratic leadership? Is that what I'm saying?
I would never do such a thing. I'm respectful.
I wanted to also ask you about just what you've been up to. You're always very active locally with your community in Pennsylvania, trying to create community and solidarity and look out for vulnerable people and populations, as well as elect people to local, state, and national offices. And you're involved, obviously, with initiatives and programs and movements to, fix economic inequality in this country and to tax billionaires, obviously, tax the rich. What have you been working on in all of those categories? What's going on with you?
I don't know, man.
You're so busy.
So tired.
I know you're exhausted. You're driving all over the place. You're doing all kinds of things.
I know. My organization is Families Over Billionaires. And Monday night, we did a big event in D.C. We brought in 20 storytellers from across the country who were sharing how the administration has affected them and their lives. And it was a really incredible evening. And we live streamed it to several million people, and we did lots of clips and we're sharing them. And the reason I'm even kind of mentioning it, because obviously this happened 2 days ago, and one of the reasons that we did it was to make sure that we were giving these people an opportunity to have a platform, because these are people who do not naturally have platforms. They're not influencers. They're not spending their time trying to pitch themselves to MSNBC. They're people who are trying to get by and to take care of their family and to, live with any sort of safety and dignity, and are struggling to do so because of the choices that our government has been making. So, we have been sharing clips from this and elevating these stories. And I think it's incredibly important to do, because we do get so overwhelmed by everything that's happening. It's so easy to go numb. It's so easy to just kind of tune out, or just hit, pinball tilt. I can't process anything. I don't work anymore. I've done. All my lights are flashing. Leave me alone. But these stories are the thing that actually connects you back in and lets you see, okay, this is one person in Maine. This is what they are experiencing. This is one mom in Iowa. This is what she is experiencing. This is her life right now. And her life should not have to be like this. We can do better. And it is very helpful to get you through that desire to just ostrich, which I think we all have, because it's just so much.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we've been doing. And I would definitely encourage people. I know it's hard, but engage the hard stories, share the stories, because I think it has a lot of positive effect on all of us to just be reminded of our own humanity and to connect with one another's humanity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a great way to do it. Familiesoverbillionaires.org to learn more and see some of those stories. And what about locally? Are you continuing with your community building?
Yes. I mean, I still have the women's group that I started a year ago. We're still going strong. It's a bunch of middle-aged suburban women. So, obviously we're going to the gun range, learning how to shoot.
No, did you really do it?
We're really doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, and then other things too, fundraising and helping out. We did a bunch of, we've been doing a lot of anti-ICE tracking around here and trying to protect the vulnerable communities here as best we can. And we are also building towards the next No Kings Day. So everybody should have that on their calendar. March 28th, Saturday. It is only a month away. All of the No Kings events, each one has been bigger than the one before. Yep. So this one presumably will continue to be even bigger. So find yours. You can do it nokings.org maybe, but if you Google No Kings, I'm sure it'll come right up. And you can put in your area code or zip code or whatever words are. I didn't sleep last night. I just wrote that recap thing. So
that was
apologies
so good. It's so good. I'm not noticing at all. But
okay.
I am
so
worried.
Yeah, you can find your No Kings event. And, it's also a good time. You're a month out. So for people who haven't necessarily been involved but want to be more involved on the communal level, reach out to the people organizing your No Kings. They probably need help, because it's really just, community groups throwing these things together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very involved in mine here in Indivisible, Rockland County. And I'll be speaking, I think, at the event.
Ooh,
I got a prime speaking slot. I'm one of the more influential people, they said, in my community.
Oh,
she said you're one of the most influential people in my community. I said I don't think I'm influential in my community at all. But I think she was
you will
trying
be once you have T-shirts with your face on it that you're handing out.
She was she's trying to butter me up so I would do my my public speaking expertise. But I'm trying to get actually influential. The actor Adam Goldberg. I hope he's listening. Adam, you have to join us.
Join Adam. You have to now. It's been said on the air. That's binding.
I worry about you shooting guns only because you have a long,
I'm not
consistent string of clumsy freak accidents. So I worry about your feet. or your lower extremities, like below your knee, being injured by a gun. So can I
tell you, I had a really nice time a couple weekends ago with like three friends. We went away just for like an overnight up towards Pocono. We got a cabin, and the cabin had one bedroom on the bottom floor and then bedrooms upstairs. And we came in. It's like, well, who should take which room? And my one friend just looked at me and was like, I would feel better knowing you're not going upstairs.
Oh, brutal, but great friend.
Yeah.
Great friend who knows you and cares about you.
I respect it. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Tell that person that you told us, and we also love that because we know you and care about you and know that sometimes things happen in the dark around your ankle area.
Sometimes things happen. It has been about a year, so.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Knock on. There's wood right here. I'm knocking.
All right. Well,
that's supposed to be the thing that does it.
Good luck on
reverse the bad things.
All of it. And thank you very much for joining us. As always, I hope everybody goes and reads your recap at McSweeney's. Follows you on Blue Sky. Are you still TikToking? I haven't been over there in a while.
No, I deleted my TikTok once the American government took it over because I just didn't want them to have all my info. I was fine with China having it, but I was just like,
that's funny. So mainly Blue Sky is where we get you on a regular?
That's where I am right now. Instagram and Blue Sky.
Instagram and Blue Sky right now. Go follow Maura. And thank you very much for watching us live and listening on the pod. And we'll talk to you all later. Thank you, Maura.
Thank you.
All right. Maura Quint, everybody. Always great. Follow her on Blue Sky and Instagram. Let her know you heard her here. She's always a lot of fun. Great friend to me, and I hope that you'll reach out and let her know how much you appreciate her on the show. That's all I've got for you today. I hope to see you tonight at our hangout. Get tickets for Podjam. Get a paid subscription for this show if you like it. You can always pay more if you can afford it. Go to patreon.com/Pete Dominic. You bumblebees here at the end are the very best. Thank you for listening. Love you so much. Appreciate you very, very much. Be the change you want to see in the world, and you choose how you want to feel today. JohnCarroll.org is the website for the greatest, who sings all of our songs, writes, and performs all the music here. The Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter. Go support him. That's it. Talk to you later.
Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. Off of your butt, down off of your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down, boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Where the money all went, it'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach Rise up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside. And listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.